Welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. My name is Caitlin and it is the end of March. It's around March 25th and it is planting time and I am so excited. It is officially spring-ish. I do have a coat on because it's a little chilly still out here, but I think winter is behind us. We got our last snow, hopefully our last snow 2 weeks ago, and I've been waiting to do my planting because it has been more of a colder March than normal. For us, I'm in Pennsylvania, for us, March can go either one of two ways. It can be cold and snowy, or it can be warm and very spring-like. So we've had about 2 weeks in the beginning of March that was in the 60s, even the 70s and 80s. But now we're ending March on a colder note. So I hope you guys can hear me over the lawnmower. Of course, as soon as I get started, my neighbor gets his lawnmower out. So isn't that always how it goes? So we're just gonna plow ahead and hopefully this works. But, so like I said, it is the end of March and there are things you can get in the ground now. So I love when people talk to me and they say, like I tell them, they're like, what are you doing this weekend? And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna plant stuff. And they're like, it's March, Caitlin. You can't plant anything yet. And I'm like, oh, but you can. So when I first got into gardening a couple years ago, probably 5 years ago, it was, I think it's probably so silly, but I didn't realize that some plants liked cooler weather versus some plants that like warmer weather. Like when I made that realization, my mind was like blown. Like, of course you can't grow broccoli in July. So that's one of the big complaints I have with the big box stores, like Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart. There's a helicopter now. Let's take a sip. Okay, let's try this again. That's one of my biggest complaints with like Lowe's, Home Depot, the big box stores, is that they don't set you up for success. So I've gone into all these big box stores and I have found tomato and pepper seedlings right there in the beginning of April with the broccoli and the Brussels sprouts and the cabbages. And those things will just simply not survive. So it does make a big difference to know what are the frost tender vegetables and what are the frost hardy vegetables. And the frost hardy ones are what we're gonna plant today. So frost hardy are the brassica family, things like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbages, cauliflower. You have all your lettuces, spinach, your romaine, your mesclun mixes, all your different lettuces, kohlrabi, not kohlrabi, Swiss chard. In my head, I feel like kohlrabi is a lettuce, and it's definitely not. And in my head, I have filed it as a lettuce. I think I may be thinking of kale. Kale is a frost hardy vegetable. But what that means is that if your plants get a little bit of a frost, they're gonna survive. And what's actually really nice, and this applies more when you're fall planting into the winter. So if I would plant all of these brassicas, my cabbages, my broccoli, my carrots in the fall, if they get a little bit of a frost right before you harvest them, they actually get a little bit sweeter. So a light frost is actually good for your more mature plants. My baby plants right now are just baby plants and they still are getting a little leggy, but again, we're gonna fix that when I plant them in the ground. But even with these guys, they get a little bit of a frost, they're gonna be just fine. The other thing I like to do with my frost hardy vegetables is I like to go to thrift stores and buy old bed sheets. Sounds gross, I know, but or use some of my own. And once, like, I know my dog puts holes in my sheets all the time just with her claws. So once I kind of retire them, I need to get new ones. I save those old bed sheets. And what I do is if I plant these and I get a good frost, I know I'm gonna get a good frost, I can come out and I can cover my plants. And the frost isn't getting the leaves themselves because the sheet is protecting them. Or you can use something like a plastic tub. I use overturned flower pots. Just anything that you can use to cover your plant can also help just protect your plants from that little bit of frost. However, these guys are gonna be just fine. I'm not ready to plant them today. So these guys, these are my broccolis, and they have their like third sets of true leaves on them. But I'm just not, and they're a little leggy. We gotta, when I plant them, I will plant them deeper. Like I'll plant them to like here and cover that stem in the soil to help make stronger plants. So that'll help combat the legginess. But a better example is here are my cabbages, and they're looking really, really good. But they're honestly only on their first sets of true leaves. Yeah, if you look, here's a good example. If you look at that one right there, this is its germination leaf, and this is its first true leaf. It hasn't gotten multiple true leaves yet. So I want to wait another week or two to see if I can get another set of true leaves or 2 sets of true leaves on there. And then I'll get them in the ground. But if your cabbages are ready to go now, you can absolutely get them in the ground now. That's going to be completely fine. They will do good. You just want to protect them from snow. If you're done with the snow, but you still might get a light frost, or you're still in the 40s, cabbages love the 40. Cabbages, broccoli, all the brassicas, all these cold, frost hardy plants, like I said, they do like the cooler weather. So you're going to be just fine with them. So these guys I just brought out to show you, but they're going to go back in the greenhouse. I set the greenhouse in the garden this weekend, so they're living in there full time. And like I said, I'm going to give them another week or two just to kind of get stronger, and then they'll go in the ground. So before I dive into what we are going to plant today, I wanted to show you, I rearranged the garden, and I wanted to show you guys what I'm going to do this year, what my garden plans were, and then now is the perfect time to start thinking about it. If you're not planting any of these cold hardy plants, but you're waiting for, or those frost hardy plants, but you're waiting for your tomatoes, your pepper, your corn, your zucchini, all of those summer crops, now is the time to start getting your garden in order. So we're going to be doing some more of that today, but I thought I'd give you guys a quick tour and show you what I'm doing. So before I get going, I need a sip. I decided to call this Cocktails and Garden Hour. It's a Friday afternoon. I just got off of work, and I'm like, I need a cocktail and I need my garden. So cocktails and garden. So cheers. Okay, so let's do a quick tour. So now I have this table here. I used to have one of these beds. So this used to be just a line of 2 beds. That middle bed was gone, and that middle bed was right here where this table is. And I removed it and made just one big long line of beds, and then added the table. And I just think that's gonna be so nice this summer. I'm so excited to have like just dinners out here, and just have like I love cheese boards, so I love to do like wine and cheese board nights in a book. And I just think that's gonna be so fun with everything growing, all of the beautifulness that we have going on. I'm so excited. So this next thing is new for this year, and I'm very excited about it. I'm growing beans this year. So I am doing a bean trellis. So what I did is I just had some leftover fencing, and I took that and I just used some T-posts and I ran it the whole way up. It's about, I don't even know, 20 feet, 30 feet. I'm really bad with measurements, so let's just take that with a grain of salt. But if you notice, I left it off the ground. And remember when I did this, my parents were asking me, why are you leaving it off the ground? Because when your beans start to grow, they grow tall. So I'm using this trellis for black beans, kidney beans, and pinto beans. And I'm gonna have, look how long this is. Like, I'm gonna have a ton of beans, and I'm super excited because beans, you need a lot to go a little ways. So I left some room at the bottom because they're gonna shoot up tall. And once they shoot up, I can start guiding them on to this trellis. And it just kind of gives me more trellis. I don't need any really at the bottom, but I do want support at the top. So that is my bean trellis I just put up last weekend. And I do need to zip tie it a little bit higher. I just haven't held on with zip ties. I need to come and trim them. But I'm really excited. I think that's gonna look really, really nice. Now we're in what's gonna be my potato bed. So I do have a little bit of fencing I need to put up for my tomatoes, but this whole area is going to be potatoes, both white potatoes and sweet potatoes. And I'm excited about that. But what I'm really excited for is I now have 3 in-ground rotated beds. So I have my beans, I have my potatoes over here, and I have my corn. So, and I haven't showed you the corn yet. But last year, this was my corn bed. And in order to keep down weeds, I took straw and I spread straw over the corn, and it helped keep down weeds a little bit. But when I plant my potatoes, I do root stout, which means I plant on the soil. I'm sitting on I'm sitting on a straw bale right now. I'm gonna spread this straw bale all out over here, and I'm gonna plant my potato sprout, my sweet potato sprout, and my sweet potato just directly on the soil. And what happens then when your actual potato starts to grow, they grow on the soil. You don't need to dig through the soil to find your potatoes. They largely grow on the soil. So it makes harvesting much easier, and it makes just cleanup again much easier. So I did roost out last year for my potatoes and I loved it. But what I really like about the rotation that I'm doing is corn is a big taking things out of the ground thing. Corn takes a lot of nutrients out of the ground, and I should actually switch it and have my beans and my potatoes switched, but that's not how it's working. But beans put a lot of nutrients into the ground. So when where my beans are this year is my corn's going to be next year, and it just kind of allows my beans to put an extra nutrient in the ground, and then the corn is sucking up those nutrients. So I like knowing that I have this rotation, that nothing is in the same spot every year. It's every 3 years before they share the same location, and that's good for fighting disease, that's good for the nutrients, that's good for pests, that's good for a whole bunch of different reasons. You don't want to plant anything in the same spot year after year. So I have this 3-part rotation, which I think is really going to be great. But this year I'm really just excited for this, my roost out bed. It's at the end of the garden. I just think it's going to work really well. So what is really nice about this is because I put the straw down for the corn last year, all of that straw has already started breaking down, and I put horse manure on here last year and I put this garden to bed, and it's just, I think we have really good soil in here for the potatoes. So I think the potatoes are going to do really well in here. Fingers crossed. We're at the end of the garden, and this whole line here is going to be I think it's going to be my tomato plant. So all of my different kinds of tomatoes I'm going to plant as a back border for the garden right along here. And that's what I do have another piece of fencing, just like the bean fencing, that we're going to run back here. Again, the exact same as we did with the bean fencing. I'm going to run it back here just to help trellis the tomatoes. Give the tomatoes something to grow onto, and then I can help tie and clip them to the trellis as they grow. And we're not going to judge my fence. My fence is pretty bad. I've not kept the same size garden once. Every single year I expand, and I think this is the year that I cannot expand anymore, but you never know. I said that every single year I'm not going to expand, and I always do. So that's why I don't have a permanent fence yet. And then COVID happened and lumber prices skyrocketed, so I would have had probably a more permanent fence if COVID hadn't happened. But I am glad that I don't, because it does allow for expansion, which I keep saying I'm not going to do, and I do. So this is the new space. I haven't tilled it up yet. I'm waiting until I'm ready to plant it, just because this whole area last year I tilled up about a month and a half before I planted my corn in it, and it was basically pointless. So I'm waiting to till this up until I'm actually ready to plant it, which brings up a good point. I am a proponent of no dig gardens. However, I do need to get this garden space started, and I don't have the time to kill off this grass before it's ready to be planted. So once something is tilled, like this area is tilled, it'll never get tilled again. Once the new space is tilled, it'll never get tilled again. It's not great to till, because what you're doing is you're breaking down the ecological systems. So you're just messing with the system, and you're messing with the soil health, and it's honestly not the best thing to do. But like I said, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. I just don't have access to a silage tarp to lay out, kill the grass, and I honestly just don't have the time. This was a last minute project I decided to do to expand the garden, and I love it. I'm very excited, but this is what we're gonna do. So don't come at me. I'm only tilling once. And you gotta do what you gotta do, right? So I am excited. These black poles, I did get lights for the garden, and they cross like right there by the arch or by the trellis, and they're really pretty. So far I've only seen them on once because it hasn't been sunny, but when they're on, I love it. So I'm just so excited to like have the lights on. They're solar lights, have the lights, have flowers and gorgeousness, and I'm so excited. So that's what that pole is for. But right here in this space, I'm gonna do a green bean teepee for the first time. I saw it on Pinterest. I was like, oh, I need that in my life. So it's actually gonna be a teepee that I'm gonna make big enough, hopefully, that I can actually like sit inside of it. My dream is to have a chair inside that teepee, and the green beans just growing all around you, and I'm just gonna sit in there with a book or a cocktail one night and just enjoy my garden. So that I'm really excited for. I'm hoping I need to go up to the woods and cut some saplings. My parents have a farm and they have woods, so I need to go up there and try to cut some saplings to use as the structure. So I gave that project to my dad, so we'll see what happens. I told him, you need to make it soon because I'm ready for it. So all along this fence is going to be corn, and I decided I do have some stumps here. I don't know where the finger goes. I do have some stumps here that there were some bushes here, which is why I never gardened here before. There's a big holly bush and 3 big fire bushes, and I really loved them. I didn't really want to get rid of them, but the holly bush was big and sharp and pokey, and the fire bushes, while pretty, I'd much rather have this space for gardening. And I really did think long and hard about if I wanted to try to dig them out, and I don't think that was going to be possible. But I do have these stumps left over, so if I can't dig the stumps out, I wasn't gonna dig the bush out. So I don't know what I was thinking, but okay. So I decided for these stumps is gonna be my border. So on this side of all the stumps is gonna be corn. So right there is a stump. This side over is gonna be corn, and I think that's gonna be enough for like 5 rows of corn, 5 to 6 rows of corn. So, but it's gonna run the whole way up to the greenhouse. And then on this side of the stumps, I'm gonna do my big long row of peppers. So peppers are my favorite thing to grow. I use them for 1,000 different things, despite them not being one of my favorite things to eat. I know, it's weird. I'm a weird conundrum. But I'm gonna have a big old huge line of peppers here, which I'm really excited about. And then really quick, I don't wanna make this video like an hour long. I think we'll go in that direction. This is going to be my onion bed. This is a nice big bed that I'm going to plant my onions in. My onions were actually delivered yesterday, and my plan was to plant them today, but we're gonna get 3 days of 20-degree nights, so I want to wait until we're not getting below freezing to put those onions in the ground. So I'm hoping next week to get the onions in the ground. My new long bed, this is where all my cabbages and broccoli are gonna go. And I might need to put some broccoli. I might have too many broccoli and cabbages for the space. I'm not really sure. And if so, I might need to put them in a different bed. You can see here my little update on my garlic. Now, I didn't do a lot of garlic. I think I only did about 64 heads or 64 cloves. Just the reason being that last year I loved them too much. I watered them too much and they all died. So I've never actually harvested a round of garlic. So I'm not sure how well I'm gonna do with these. My plan is to make garlic powder, and I would like to make garlic powder and to braid some garlic. But when I'm cooking, I honestly never buy fresh garlic. I buy the jar of chopped garlic. So that's my second hope. I don't know if you can do that. If you can peel and chop all the garlic at once and then store it like you do when you buy it in the store, or that requires things that I don't have access to. I don't know. So that's kind of something I'm looking into. But I just started with 64 cloves to see how I like growing garlic. Like I said, I never peel fresh garlic. I just buy the minced garlic in the jar, and that has done me just fine. So we'll see what we think about this. But I do know I love the garlic leaves. I harvest these and the onion leaves as well. I make ramen packets, which is just peppers and okra and onions, and I use these greens in them. I think they're really great. And these taste like garlic, and the onion leaves taste like onions. And so I think it adds, just if you want to add it to anything, you can add it to your stocks at the very least. You can add it to soups. You can add it to anything that you want that garlic or that onion flavor. It's, in my opinion, a great herb. So I really love using these, but you can also dry these and powder them and get like a green garlic powder or a green onion powder. But so these are honestly probably more valuable to me than the actual garlic, because I really hate peeling the garlic. Like, I really hate peeling it. So these guys are doing, I think, pretty good. As long as I don't water them and kill them, they're doing pretty good. I'm gonna be planting a few things today, and these are just gonna be seeds. And these plants are honestly grown better as seeds. I don't recommend buying starts from somebody or trying to start these inside yourself. You just need to direct sow these. But this is why you also want to direct sow these right now, so you can get that start on them. So the reason some of these aren't good things to start inside is like things like carrots, radishes, beets. I'm gonna start all these today, and these are root vegetables, so the thing that you're harvesting is the root. So you really don't want to mess with the root of the plant, and you would when you transplant it from the seed cell either into a transplanted pot or when you put it into the garden. So we're going to be starting beets, carrots, and radishes directly from seed. And I actually don't know if I like radishes. I just got these seeds in with like a pack of seeds, like a sampler pack. So we're gonna try them and see if we like them. I heard if you roast them, they're supposed to be really good. So we're gonna try. Now it's really bright. I have to move. I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, let's try this again. The sun got very bright and I could not handle it. So, like I was saying, I'm gonna be planting beets, carrots. I'm gonna be planting sugar snap peas. I have a couple different kinds. I also want to plant snow peas, but I don't have any snow peas and I didn't feel like going to the store for any, so I think this is there. We're just not going to do snow peas, which is fine because I do like these sugar daddy snap peas better. These just are, they're a lot fatter than snow peas, and I just think they're like more filling. My goal this year is to actually get enough snap peas that I can have a side with the dinner, maybe a couple sides. I eat these as fast as they come in, and I never have enough to have like an actual side. My favorite way to eat these is to roast them with some garlic salt. So good. But I eat them too fast, and then I can't have that. So the goal this year is to get a lot more. And I'm gonna plant them on this trellis here behind me. So I'm also gonna be using a fertilizer. So I put these beds to bed last year. I did some azomite, I did manure, I did my leaf mulch and compost. So that's been sitting, so my beds I think are in good shape. But to get these guys off to a good start, I'm gonna be adding some of my 444, just basic fertilizer, and then getting these guys in the ground. For my snap peas, I'm just gonna put them in the ground about every 2 inches, but everything else, I'm gonna try to do the right way. So this year I bought the square foot gardening tool, and I'm gonna try to do like my beets and my carrots using this tool. That is my hope and my plan. So we'll see how successful I am, but let's get started planting. It got warm, so I took my jacket off, but now I'm getting cold again. So I'm gonna put my jacket back on and get planting. That's all we got for today. I did all of that, planted my carrots and my beets and my snap peas, and give you guys a tour and half a cocktail. So I feel like, and a dirty face, I feel like that's pretty good. So I'm gonna take the roly-poly dog in. She's down there rolling around again. We're gonna go inside and do some more chores inside. I hope you guys have a good Friday. Hope you guys have a good evening. and I'll see you guys in the next video.